Welcome to Loop City. We are five guys who love hoops, entertainment, and culture. In this episode, we're diving back into our NBA season previews. I'm Pete Toal. Joining me, as always, is DJ GonzoStar and Coach Matt. This time, we're previewing the Southeast Division. And then stay tuned for the end of the episode because Gonzo is going to give you his matchup of the week in the NFL. And then we're going to talk about a controversial topic that's been all the headlines across all the NFL news outlets since it happened last week. But let's get into the Southeast preview, starting with the Miami Heat. Matt, how did they finish last year?
Okay, they were first in the Eastern Conference last year, 53 and 29, 110 points per game, 17th in the NBA. They allowed 105.6, which was fourth. Pace 95.9, which was 28th of 30. Offensive rating 113.7, which was 10th in the league. Defensive rating 109.1, fifth in the NBA. And then also still, they lose PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris. Also, they draft Nikola Jovic. Is it Jovic? Am I saying it right?
Yep.
Yeah, Nikola Jovic. I like his skill set. I don't think he'll do much for him this year, but I do like his skill set. And then still, Eric Spoelstra is still the longtime head coach. I think the second longest tenured coach in the NBA now.
Yeah, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start with the biggest topic that surrounds the team after Pat Riley's presser regarding Tyler Hero. He said Tyler Hero needed to improve and basically come out and earn the starting job. Tyler Hero's worked his butt off this offseason. Do you think, Matt, that Tyler Hero could start, and what do you see out of him this year?
Yes, I think he can start. I mean, he is their best shooting guard, their best natural shooting guard on the team. So absolutely, he could start. I like the swag that he comes with sometimes. Is he a little, can he say a little too much sometimes? Yeah, but so what? I like the swag. I like the confidence. For the most part, he backs it up. Most improved player. What was it? Now I did I hear it? If I read this correct, did he say he should have been an all-star last year?
That's what he said.
That's what I really wanted to mention. Hell no, he shouldn't have been an all-star last year. There's not one guy I would have took off the team to put Tyler Hero. And I like Tyler Hero. I like the swag. I saw him at Kentucky hit big shots. Had a great bubble run, which basically was year 2 for him anyways because they had 4 months off. But still, I like the improvement. He works on his game. Yes, there's the outside factors and all the controversy around him, But so what? He backs it up on the court. But I just wanted to talk about him saying he should have been an all-star last year. Hell no.
He doesn't guard enough to be an all-star, and he's not consistent enough game to game. He hits some good shots and big moments. Yeah. Obviously, the bubble propelled him. In fairness,
a guy who we both like, Trae Young, does not guard enough to be an all-star, but he is an all-star.
Right.
Also, Tyler Hero's not Trae Young, though.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, so Gonzo. So there's, pretty much the same team come back from last year. You've got Kyle Lowry, you've got Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. You've got some intrigue with Victor Oladipo coming back, supposedly healthy this year. Some other, role player pieces in Max Strus, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, who potentially could be a starter at the power forward spot. I want to ask you, who would you have on this team as being an X factor that can make the biggest difference to help Miami propel upward in the Eastern Conference?
2 people. The first person is Kyle Lowry, because when healthy, very good defender, good point guard. Looking at his resume, maybe a potential Hall of Famer, not first ballot, but maybe a potential Hall of Famer. Kyle Lowry. Second, man, Bam Adebayo, man. Like, when Bam is hot, the team is hot. But when he's not able to step up in those big moments, Miami looks like a regular team.
Okay. I think that, Pat Riley's comments for Adebayo. Well, let's go back to Lowry. His comment for Lowry were getting in shape and all that stuff as far as just overall helps with injuries. With Adebayo, it was let's see him score more. So he's taken in some of the workouts that they've been doing, team workouts and things like that. He's been more aggressive on the offensive end. So I'll be curious if that translates to more points, and they're going to need it because if you're playing Caleb Martin as a power forward and more or less a small ball lineup, you're going to need Adebayo to really be more than just like kind of what he's been in the past, which is able to facilitate. You need that scoring role because otherwise Jimmy's going to be gassed scoring, constantly in that starting role. Oladipo is one where I think if he's on, he is the X factor because if he can get back to 16, 17, 18 points a game, helping out just in a like complementary role, technically as a more or less alongside Hero, kind of coming off the bench, but he's able to help facilitate and score with his already good defense. I think that makes a big difference for them. Matt, I'm going to stay with this question just because I want to ask you X Factor. Do you have anybody else you think might fall into the X Factor?
I was actually with Greg on Kyle Lowry just because he was a disappointment last year. A lot of it was the injuries. So I think, and him being in the advanced age is there. So you're not expecting him to be Kyle Lowry of 4 years ago. Even, when he was with Toronto, they win the championship. We're not expecting that guy, but a guy who can come in and do what they need him to do. And I did like who you said with Oladipo because offensively we know what he's capable of doing. Maybe not to the level that he did in Indiana because he's a little older, the injuries, but I think he can do some things defensively for them. That's really going to help. He can guard both guard positions. In smaller lineups, he can also guard out at the small forward position as well.
Yeah, he's versatile enough to play those three positions, so definitely.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to stay with you since you already answered that, and then I'm going to go to Gonzo before we wrap them up with the same question. So for both of you, what does Miami need? Two-part question. What does Miami need to do to finish top 3 in the East, and is there any possibility that they could propel even higher and win the East? Matt, you go first.
To stay to be a top 3 team, we know they finished first last year. I think health with Kyle Lowry. Obviously, Adebayo's got to be more aggressive offensively. We know what he can do on the defensive end. He's very good there. But also, can Duncan Robinson find his 3-point shot again? That's going to be big.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they paying him? $18 million to shoot bricks?
That's huge. And he's been in trade rumors constantly, so that mental aspect there is a little bit of a, hard for some people to overcome. But yeah, I definitely think that Duncan can still play a huge part on the team if he can hit shots. All right.
And
so
also,
Gonzo,
real quick, is Jimmy going to hold up?
Yeah.
With the injury, that's that's probably the biggest question. Is Jimmy going to hold up? Because he had to do so much last year.
Yeah, agree. All right, so Gonzo, what do they need to do to finish top 3? And is there any possibility that they can overcome, like we talked about before with Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee? Can they overcome those teams?
The first thing they have to do before I even get to that point is, due to the fact that they lose PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, somebody on that bench has to step up and be a scorer. And I'm talking about consistent scoring. Whether it's Struss or just
Oladipo,
Oladipo. Somebody has to be a consistent scorer on that bench. That's one. Duncan Robinson, he has to show up. Somebody has to be a defender on that team. But as we speak right now, currently, with the team that they have, they cannot win the East. There's nothing that they can do, honestly, in my opinion, that can help them win the East. I think now this is where all this hope that Miami had of getting back to the finals like they did in the bubble, I think it's going to start falling apart right about now.
So, Greg, heat culture is not going to work this season?
Nah, it's over. Stick a fork in and done.
Speaking of teams that almost won the East, 2 years ago, our next team, the Atlanta Hawks, did well. But let's talk about what they did last season, Matt. How'd they fare?
Okay, last year, obviously a very disappointing season for the Atlanta Hawks, coming off of that conference finals berth the year before. They go 43-39, respectable considering they did get off. They were below 500 a good portion of the season last year. Points per game, 113.9, 6 out of 30. No surprise there. Opponents' points per game, 112.4, 21st. Really no surprise there defensively. Pace was 97.7, bottom third of the league at 20th. 116.5 offensive rating, which was second. And then defensive rating, 114.9, which was 26th. Nate McMillan is back as their head coach again. I like Nate McMillan. We'll see where it goes this year. And big additions. Obviously, we talked, how bad they were defensively. You had DeJounte Murray, one of the better defensive point guards in the league. I'll say guards because is he going to handle the ball as much this year? We'll see. As he did in San Antonio, you draft AJ Griffin, you bring in the two Holiday brothers, Justin and Aaron. You add Mo Harkless, another solid defensive player, and then one of our favorites, Frank the Tank, is back in the NBA. Phoenix lets him go. Frank the Tank is back with Atlanta, and then Tyrese Martin, obviously, another addition this year.
One disclaimer real quick. I forgot to update the sheet. They traded Mo Harkless
that's
the other
right.
day.
They did.
Yeah,
yes.
For Vit Krejci out of for OKC. I forgot to update the sheet when
that's right.
did that, so that's
right.
my fault.
And then OKC, they did favors, went to Houston and all that stuff there. Yeah,
Yep.
Shoot, I should have even caught that. That's on me.
Yeah. Let's go back to Trey and DeJounte. Gonzo, I'm going to you on this question. With Trae Young and DeJounte being both versatile playmakers, obviously DeJounte's more of a drive and score. Trae is more of a shooter. He can drive and draw fouls, but how do you see them coexisting this season? Can they succeed?
Absolutely. I think this is where I think having DeJounte Murray kind of opens up another level of Trae Young's game. Trae Young doesn't have to shoot those deep threes anymore and have to dribble in the ISO. Now he can kind of do stuff that Steph does. Come off dummy screens, shoot threes in the corner. It can create other opportunities for him to score besides always being the primary ball handler. But at the same time, it makes it harder for defenses to figure out what they're doing because now you have DeJounte Murray, somebody who can drive and collapse the defense and could possibly kick the ball out to shooters and get other people open. So it could work. It very well could work. I know they seem small, seems like a small backcourt, but just kind of look at it as in this aspect, should I say, kind of look at it as if it's Draymond and Steph in the backcourt, kind of.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm both optimistic and pessimistic. If I'm optimistic, if DeJounte's willing to take the role of facilitator in bigger moments and let Trae cook off the ball, and then Trae also has to commit to, getting good looks for DeJounte in the spots that he's used to getting looks because he's not going to be a shooter. So Trae's just got to think a little bit differently when he's handling the ball. Matt, I have a question for you specifically because I know he's your guy.
Yes.
Onyeka Okongwu.
Yes.
Do you think that this year he can have enough of a year to supplant Clint Capella in the lineup?
No, not to that level, but I think he's going to have a big season, big enough to where, and I know this is kind of random, but I did my ESPN fantasy draft yesterday. I drafted Jaren Jackson knowing that he was going to sit, right, till late December, put him on the injured list, and I picked up Onyeka Okongwu. That's how much I like Okongwu. He's going to rebound. He's going to do solid rim protection, just he's going to get the job done. He's not Capella. I don't think he's going to be the rim runner that Capella is yet. And plus him and Trae I don't know if they're going to have that connection right off the bat. because Okongwu's been in and out of the lineup, injured. What did he miss? The first 2 months last year.
Yeah.
So he hasn't played a whole lot, But I want to say this because I know this is not one of the things, but I want to give my X factor for this team. And you're probably going to agree. It's definitely DeAndre Hunter. He's the X factor.
Yeah.
It's him. He's got all the tools to be a great 3-and-D guy.
Can he stay healthy, though? That's
the question. That really is the question because when he's on the floor, he's really, really good.
Yeah. He definitely elevates them.
Yeah, and his numbers that last year were down because of the injuries, but that year before, which would have been his second year, he was really good. What was he? Close to 40 from three. He played in he's
good
really
defense.
Freaking yes.
And
which is why they drafted him.
It's crazy because I would actually play Hunter at the 4, would have traded Collins.
Yes, and then keep Cam Reddish, right?
I mean, ideally I would have went that route, but the Hawks obviously, didn't just because of Nate McMillan's the coach. I've never been high on Nate McMillan. I don't think that's a secret. I think this is the right about this year is the time that in history, Nate McMillan teams, the players start tuning them out.
It happened in Seattle.
Yeah, and it happened in Indiana, so and Portland. So
real quick before we go to the next team. So if they were, who do you like? If they would have moved John Collins, who do you move him for? A 3 guy, someone to play that other wing position.
It would have been somebody on a wing that could also be a versatile, another secondary ball handler, and this would have been pre DeJounte Murray. And then one that could shoot the 3, like at an elevated level as well. I don't know exactly who you can go for, but that would have been kind of the dynamic I would have went for.
Kind of, yeah. So now, obviously, because you don't need the extra ball handling with Murray, kind of maybe like a Covington type.
I'd go a little bit higher than a Covington.
Not necessarily Covington now, because he's older. Yeah.
Right. But just somebody that's versatile enough to be a 3-and-D as well, just to help you because – like the Hawks, obviously, the stigma with the Hawks is they don't defend. So,
well, you know who they should have drafted instead of Griffin? They should have took Tari Eason.
I mean, Griffin they got because he could shoot. So, it's just his ankle and all that stuff's going to be the question mark. But all right, let's wrap up the Hawks. Last question, Gonzo, do they have enough to climb in the top 4 or 5 in the East?
Not at all. The other teams we mentioned, just too much better. I think they could possibly, make the play-in, but up there with those teams, no, they don't. They can't make it to the top 4 or 5 spot, 4th or 5th spot. No way.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of it's going to be them or Chicago. That's going to be very sad that they're at home along with the New York Knicks. So it's going to be one of those two who are going to be at home. I just don't see.
So no playing either. You mean no playing?
No, they could make the play-in, but eventually they'll be at home to where they don't make the playoffs. I don't know that because I'm a little bit higher on some other teams than that we've talked about previous than like Atlanta and stuff like that. I don't know. I see Atlanta like somewhere in, that 9-10 range. As high as maybe 7 on a good year.
I think I've got them slightly, like potentially finishing slightly higher. I think they can finish 6.
Okay.
But it has to break right. The whole Trae Young, DeJounte Murray thing has to work out. You have to see an uptick in the defense of John Collins, and then we'll see how Okongwu fits in. And Hunter is the X factor. If Hunter stays healthy and is the defender we know he is, and he's the shooter we've seen him be, then this is a very good basketball team.
Yeah. All right. So the Hawks obviously made a big change. Let's go to our next team. They did not do very much this offseason. It's the Charlotte Hornets. What did they do last season, Matt?
So they finished 43-39, 10th, got to the play-in. 43-39, solid record. Borrego was the coach last year. They did make the change. They brought back Stephen Clifford. He is back as their head coach. Good head coach, preaches defense. I think that's one of the reasons they brought him in, as you'll see when we go to the defensive rating and all that stuff. One of the reasons. But points per game, 115.3. Not surprised. 4th out of 30. Opponents' points per game, 114.9, 25th. Pace 100, 6 out of 30. You expect a faster pace with a point guard like LaMelo Ball. Offensive rating was 114.1, which is 9th. Defensive rating 113.7, 23rd. So they were really piss poor defensively, which I think is why they bring in Steve Clifford. Even though I think Borrego did as good a job as he possibly could have done. He didn't do a bad job. It is not a great roster. They add Mark Williams. They lose Montrezl Harrell and little Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah. All right, this goes segues into
and real quick, Miles Bridges will not be re-signed, so they lose him as well.
Yeah, that segues into my first question.
Okay, go ahead. Go to
Gonzo, how much does losing Miles Bridges? Obviously, he had a lot of chemistry with LaMelo last year. How much does that hurt the team overall?
It hurts them a lot. It really does. It moves them from a potential play-in team to being not even a competing team. It kind of pushes them out of that 7 to 10 spot, and it moves them like all the way at the bottom. They might be at the bottom somewhere with the Knicks, maybe the Bulls. Maybe. It might be worse than this.
Damn.
And I'm not high on the Bulls. I'm from Chicago, and I'm not high on the Bulls. But they'll definitely be at the bottom.
I can't wait for my Bulls fam to listen to these podcasts and hear Greg.
That hurts them a lot.
I love it.
That hurt them a lot. And like I say, it shows you too that the problem with a lot of these athletes is it's not even just the relationships they have off the court, but it's the maturity level. Because if you have to put yourself in that situation, or your buttons are pushed that bad to the point that you have to do what Miles Bridges did, maybe you're just not mature enough. You're not mature enough for this moment in life to get an opportunity to play in the NBA, make money that the average person could make. And not only that, you let your teammates down. So this hurts. This hurts them terribly. I feel sorry for the Charlotte franchise, honestly.
First, I'm going to say I normally don't, we don't make things political here, but I will say this. Miles Bridges is a piece of shit, basically. I mean, it's one of those things. We heard the tape. It's not like we need all the facts. You don't really need the facts on this one. And the kid witnessed it. Yeah, he's a piece of shit, so that is what it is. But it is still going to hurt losing him. Is he a great player? No. He had, but he's athletic. He did improve his 3-point shoot. He's improved the 3-point shooting. So it will hurt, but I don't think they were, it's not like this team was primed to jump into the top 6 in the East anyways. So, but it sucks for LaMelo Ball, who's emerged.
Can he make a leap, though? That's going to my next question. Can he make a leap, LaMelo?
I'll tell you where there's 2 ways he's going to make his leap. We know what he can do in transition. He can make the occasional 3. He's fantastic with his vision and his passing. Can he run a half-court offense, and can he guard? If he can't do those 2 things, there is no leap. Maybe his stats go up, but is the only way he becomes a better player is if he can guard, and if he can run a half-court offense. He can't do. You saw it in the playoffs when the game slows down 2 years in a row now in the play-in. He's basically been terrible because he can't run a half-court offense. He has to do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Gonzo, do you have an X factor for the team? It could be a starter like a Gordon Hayward. It could be Terry Rozier, or you could go bench player Isaiah, or not Isaiah. Why do I have Isaiah Thomas?
I got one.
My brain. Or Kelly Oubre. Like there's a bunch of different ones. Matt, you go ahead with yours, and then
okay. I'm gonna say who my I like his game. I'm gonna go Book Knight.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going Book Knight. I think the potential is there. For this year 2, he could be their bench scorer, possibly a starter. But I think a bench scorer guy gets you 15 to 17 a game. I think he's got that kind of potential. I like Book Knight.
Okay. Gonzo, you have anybody that you think might be an X factor if that can help? They may not make the playoffs, but at least get them maybe to the play-in.
Probably PJ Washington.
Okay.
He's gonna have
I
to
like
get
it.
he's gonna have to increase his scoring more now that Miles Bridges is gone. And you know what? Again, I feel so sorry for the Charlotte franchise because you had Airbnb and they looked like they were going places. Now they're going from play in to play out. So sad.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
real quick, Pete. There's one guy I'm looking. I can't think of his name. It's gonna come to me. Hold on, real quick.
McDaniels?
No. Kai Jones. What do you think?
He's still raw.
Yeah, because I like the potential with him.
Yeah, but I think that Steve Clifford's enamored with Nick Richards a little bit more right now.
Richards went to
Um,
Duke, right? Was he the one that went to Duke?
No, Williams went to Duke.
Williams went to Duke. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Richards played a little bit last year, showed flashes, like could score quickly, like when they needed it. And I think he actually gets more playing time eventually than Plumlee gets. Williams is going to have to show a lot more. He looked a little rough around the edges in summer league. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was, well, I don't know what it was, but
And well, you can't really judge off a summer league too much.
right.
I mean, Doug McDermott going into his rookie year was the best player in Vegas summer league, and we
Right.
like Doug McDermott, but he's not that guy.
Right. Yeah. All right. It gets worse from here, unfortunately, for this division. Next we
it
have
may be funny.
Yeah. Next we have the Washington Wizards. What did they do last year, Matt?
So they were actually 35 and 47 last year, 12th in the East. Not as bad as you might think, considering Beal missed a shit ton of games. But they were 108.6 in points per game, which was good enough for 22nd. They allowed 112, which was middle of the pack at 16. Pace 97, which was 23rd. They were 21st in offensive rating at 111.1. They were 25th in defensive rating at 114.5. So, yes, and they've added Monte Morris, Will Barton, DeLon Wright, Johnny Davis, the rookie, and Taj Gibson, one of Tom Thibodeau's favorites.
Yeah, he had a big 3-point shot late in the game the other night. So it looks like they're committed to playing him some. So it's going to be interesting because Daniel Gafford's still there. So I'll be curious to see how that backup rotation behind Kristaps Porzingis goes. But
so, is Porzingis playing the 5 or the 4 for them?
The 5, because Kuzma's playing the 4.
That's right. Kuzma.
So Gonzo, we've talked about it numerous times on numerous shows about guys getting paid and whether they live up to the hype, whether they don't live up to the hype. Bradley Beal, with that massive contract, pretty much ties up Washington's future tremendously. Will he live up to the hype this season?
I think he's a very, very, very good scorer, but I haven't been fair about judging Bradley Beal because I've been critical of the Wizards, but I don't think he's always had a very, very good team around him. This year, I honestly think they could possibly do something at that bottom of the East. I think they added more scoring with Will Barton. You get Monte Morris. His thing is staying healthy. It's really staying healthy because he misses games every year. So I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's his health more than anything. Because I mean, he is a very good scorer. Defensively, you're not gonna get that much out of him on defense. I mean, if you could grade it on an A through F system, give him like a C plus. He's okay, but he's not good enough to like stop anybody or slow anybody down. But his health is what keeps him on the court. Because right now, what they need to do is they need scoring. They need as many people scoring as possible and consistently as possible. Because they're not going to compete with those top teams in the East. So right now they're fighting for spots at the bottom, and you just hope that some guards kind of fall your way and hope you can go further in the playoffs. But I think they might make it to the playoffs.
Okay.
Mhm.
Matt, Kristaps Porzingis has always been your guy.
Yes, I do like Porzingis.
All right, so this is a two-part question for you.
Yes.
Porzingis specifically, we're going on the if healthy system, so we're not
We
gonna,
have to. Yes, we have to.
we're not going to factor in injuries. Can he reach all-star potential and help basically kind of pair with Bradley Beal to elevate them into a playoff spot? And the second part is with the young, intriguing guys that they have on the roster,
Okay.
as far as Advia, Kispert, Johnny Davis is a rookie, but you got Hachimura there.
Yeah.
Which one of them could break out and really kind of be an X factor for
All right.
them?
Okay, with Porzingis, can he be an all-star again? Absolutely. He's going to block shots. And he showed like he was really bad. Like last year when he played for Dallas, he was pretty good. The defense started to come back. The previous year it was awful. You could see it. He got injured against the Clippers his first full season with Dallas. Then that second year, he was in and out of the lineup. But even when he played it, the defense you could tell the knee was bothering him. Last year, obviously in and out of the lineup again, but he was good when he played. So, yes, I think he can be an all-star. He's just a dynamic player offensively at that size. He can protect the rim on the defensive end. Now, when it comes to their young guys, I do really like Corey Kispert. I'm not saying he's the breakout guy, but I do like, and we talked about it last week when we talked about Neesmith. We've said it with JJ Redick. It takes shooters a few years sometimes adjusting to that speed of the game, and so I think Kispert's going to be fine. Very, high basketball IQ, but the breakout is obviously going to be Rui Hachimura. That's my guy. I think it's going to be him. I thought he was going to be a breakout this last year, but of course the injuries and stuff. But I think it's Rui Hachimura. Denny Advia. I'm not like I want to like him so much. The potential is there. I just don't know if he's going to hit it.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to stay with you, and then Gonzo, I'm going to ask you the same thing. So hang tight. Any chance, and you alluded to it a little bit, Gonzo. So if it's repetitive, that's maybe you can elaborate more on maybe what they could do to push a little bit further than just like a play-in into the playoffs. But Matt, do you see any way that they could solidify a playoff spot?
Solidify a playoff spot, meaning top 6? No, they're not going to be top 6. I think they could get in the play-in, though. I think the play-in is very wide open for them.
Okay.
They have the talent in the roster to get into that top 10. When you look at the bottom few teams in the East, I think they probably do get in the play-in. Obviously, right. We won't say it because we've said it, everything assuming health.
Right. Gonzo, do you so you obviously said they could make the playoffs. Do you think that maybe they need another piece, like they could trade off a veteran or something like that, a veteran with one of their young guys and maybe a pick and get another guy that could pair as a third star? You think that might be a good option for them to kind of push towards a playoff berth?
Absolutely. I think what they need is they need a point guard. I think that's something that they need. I like Bradley Beal handling the ball, but you need a facilitator on that team with all those guys who can score. Kuzma can score. Porzingis can score. Bradley Beal can score. Monte Morris can score. Will Barton can score. It's just too many guys who can score, but it's just not a guy who can really facilitate and orchestrate the offense. So I think that's the biggest problem. You'll get the scoring, but will it be well orchestrated, or will it be a bunch of ISO ball?
Right.
And in today's NBA, what you really need is you need team style of play. You can't win basketball in the NBA think you're gonna dribble, and just shoot. There's got to be some passing, good ball movement, things like this, moving the ball around, getting the defenses to shift. Can the Wizards do that? I think they need a point guard. I think that's what they lack the most.
Yes.
Yeah, they essentially, to me, in my opinion, Monte Morris is a high quality backup. I don't know that he's a starter. And then DeLon Wright's shown in his previous stops that he's more of a 2 that can kind of play the 1 if needed, but he's not a facilitator either. And I don't like the idea of Bradley Beal on the ball full time, or let's convert Johnny Davis to a point guard, because he's shown, and I know we talked about his summer league and preseason and all that stuff, but he's shown he cannot. He's shown he can't separate from anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like bad.
Well, it's kind of like, remember when, and I talked about this way when we were doing the podcast years when D'Angelo Russell came in, mm-hmm. he couldn't get to his spots on the floor.
Right.
Johnny Davis can't get to his, like, if you can't get to your spots on the floor, like if you're a primary ball handler, that's not going to work.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what he's going to be able to do, because he, like, and I kind of gave him a pass for summer league, but he looked awful in the first preseason game the other day. So,
you know what they need on this team with the young guys? They need someone like a Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, Rubio is comfortable in Cleveland, and then he's rehabbing.
So I know, but
they need that veteran presence.
Yes, someone like
almost
that.
like a TJ McConnell or something, that somebody that can come in and be like a guy that's not going to be a high usage guy, but can get others involved and hit a shot if he needs to,
and he can defend on the other end.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Where is TJ at right now? Is he in the league?
Indiana.
Still? He's still in Indiana. Yep. Maybe that's a move Washington may want to think. Hey, we'll give you a second rounder for him.
Yeah. I mean, because with Indiana, obviously the future that they're looking at is obviously Halliburton, and we talked about it in our previous preview. But Nembhard is a quality guard coming in. That's a point guard. That's obviously McConnell can mentor. So maybe at the trade deadline you could get him.
Yeah, because TJ McConnell is not the future of the Indiana Pacers.
Correct. Right.
Yes.
All right. Segueing into our last and final team before we get into our NFL stuff, the Orlando Magic. How did they fare last year, Matt?
They were terrible. 22-60, last in the East. They averaged 104 points per game, which was 29th of 30. Defensively, opponents' points per game, 112, 20th of 30. Not awful, but not great, not very good. Pace, 99.2, top third, 10th of 30. Offensive rating was 104.5, dead last. Defensive rating was 17th at 112.5. And they've added, obviously, the number 1 pick, Paolo Banchero, who I'm a big fan of. And they add Caleb Houston. They lose Robin Lopez. Fultz is still there, but he just injured himself in the training camp. What was it? It was a broken or a
toe.
Toe, yeah, his toe. That's right. So he won't be. He's probably out. Jonathan Isaac. Who knows when the hell that guy's going to play?
He had a setback. He had a setback 2 months ago.
He's been out for 15 years now. Gary Harris is out for the start of the season. They're not losses, but I mean, is Jonathan Isaac ever going to freaking play? That guy feels like it feels like he hasn't played since his rookie year, which was
he last
5
played in the
years
bubble.
ago.
Last played in the bubble.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, let's talk about Paolo Banchero. He's right there. Obviously, there's a number of guys you can go with for Rookie of the Year. But Gonzo, can he be the de facto number 1 option for the team and take that Rookie of the Year crown?
He's muted. You're muted, Greg.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're good.
Can he be the number 1 option? Well, of course, he can be the number 1 option. The bad thing about Orlando is that they kind of suffer from the same thing that Washington has. They have a lot of young guys who can score, but they have no real direction. It's like we're just drafting pieces to look good, and eventually we'll just keep losing. Eventually have to get rid of those picks and just go to an early rebuild. It's just like the same formula, that a lot of these bottom teams suffer from. And in the end, there is no magic in Orlando.
God damn!
Wow.
You're not going to get anything from these teams. And that's why I think I've seen Coach. Isn't it Coach Goodrich, right?
Yeah. Coach Goodrich.
I seen him on his tweets, and he says a lot of stuff that we say a lot. Like honestly, a lot of these bottom teams, like they should just eliminate them from the NBA and push that talent to other teams because it'll make the league more competitive. Like it's kind of pointless to have teams like Orlando, the Wizards, the Kings. OKC was relevant, but they might have never reached that level that they were once before. And if they do, it'll be for a very short period of time, and then they'll just dissolve and go right back to the same old stuff. You know, it's just the harsh reality of it all. But Banchero, he's never the number one guy on that team, easily.
Okay. Now, Matt, I know you're a young guy. Like you're intrigued
I
always
like
by
young guys.
rookies and
Yes.
sophomores and
Yes.
all that stuff. Two guys that are big parts of this team, and Franz Wagner
Absolutely.
and Jalen Suggs. They're now sophomores. Obviously, Wagner had the breakout. Everybody thought it was going to be Suggs. Suggs struggled on the offensive end, showed flashes on defense. Do we see a bigger leap from Wagner this year? And is Suggs going to be able to turn it around and show consistency?
I think you will see I don't know if we'll see a monster leap from Wagner, because I don't know if he's that guy. Because typically, with these really good, not just all-star level guys, but those upper echelon, more than all-star, you always see it in that second year. Guys like Zion, you saw it with LaMelo, Luka, Trey. I don't think we're going to see that kind of leap, but yeah, I think he's definitely going to improve. I think Suggs is actually going to be really good. You mentioned it. Defensively, the signs are there, that's awesome, because with young guys, that usually comes second, is the defense. Yeah. He's got that already, which is a good sign. And he has the potential to show up in big games. We saw it in college. I don't care if it's college. My man hit a freaking half-court shot to win the goddamn game. So I think he's going to be fine. He'll never be a great shooter, but I think he's going to be a really good shooter. He's got the playmaking, good size at 6'4". So 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, he's got good size. He's not a little guard. I think he's going to be fine, and I hope this means that Greg Anthony is
Cole Anthony,
yeah, Greg Anthony's son. I hope he goes to the bench. I like Cole Anthony. He's not a starter though. It's not a starter.
What's intriguing is obviously Jamal Mosley likes to play around with lineups and likes versatility and stuff like that. What they've scrimmaged so far has been Suggs at the 1, Wagner at the 2, Banchero at the 3, Bol at power forward,
absolutely,
and Wendell Carter Jr. at center. And Cole Anthony's coming in as a 6th man.
I freaking love it.
I don't know if you could do that once Fultz is healthy, but for right now, maybe that's kind of the direction.
That's the starting lineup. You give Bol a chance. I love Bol, and I want to see him succeed. That's all I got to say. Because remember, when he was at Oregon before he got hurt, the first 5 or 6 games, he was the projected number 2 pick in the draft. Like, this guy is not a bum.
Right.
He's just very frail.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the combination of lineups, especially with the injuries they have.
Yeah, personally, I would flip-flop it and put Bol at the 3, though, because I think maybe you keep Banchero, because Banchero's a better passer.
Well, and they
got him at the 3.
What he was intrigued with is his shot blocking, shot blocking, and that's why they slid him up.
Yeah.
But he likes to shoot threes, so 3 and D, basically block shots and shoot threes.
Do you think Bol is going to be in the rotation though?
Well, the thing is, so if you don't have Gary Harris, you slide in. Terrence Ross gets some minutes. You can kind of get some minutes from Chuma Okeke. You could give some spot minutes to Bol and nights here and there to kind of see what you have, because obviously No Isaac opens up a big spot there at the 4. So we'll see what happens. But
I have to say something real quick. I believe Chuma Okeke corrected all of us. I believe it's now Okeke.
Oh, is it Okeke? Okay.
I think it's Okeke. Yes. I saw it. It was one of the things on Media Day. Yes, I saw that.
I got you. I missed that one. So yeah, good.
I mean,
good looking at on that one.
Yeah. I mean, we don't always, follow Chuma Okeke. So
Right.
No offense to anybody who hasn't. He's not exactly the biggest name in the world.
Right. All right. So, Gonzo, this is going to wrap us up before you're getting into the NFL stuff. So, Orlando, any chance at all that they could push to the play-in? I don't think they have enough to make the playoffs without getting to the play-in first, but any chance for the play-in?
That would be a hell and a no.
I should have known when I asked the question.
Not a chance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Gons on this one. If everything breaks right for Orlando, they're still not a play-in team.
Yeah.
They can improve off of last year though, which I
Right.
think is the key. You just want to improve, and you got the big French boy, so that's the prize. And
Yeah,
then the
Wembanyama.
guard, what's it? Scoot Henderson is the other prize, I guess.
Yeah.
So, there's light at the end of the tunnel if you're Orlando, if you can get a top 2 pick.
Right. Well, that wraps up. Sorry to say, the less than stellar Southeast Division once you get past Miami and Atlanta. But now we're going to go into our NFL segment. This is Gonzo's matchup of the week. Gonz, you hit it out of the park last week with your matchup of the week with Buffalo and Miami. What do you have this week for your matchup of the week in the NFL?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Kansas City Chiefs. This is a possible Super Bowl preview. Tom Brady versus Pat Mahomes. Tom Brady has lots of weapons this year. He has Julio Jones, who I think might have just got hurt. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You got Leonard Fournette. You got Cameron Brate. You got a defense with one of the best defenses in the NFL. Can he beat Pat Mahomes? Can Pat Mahomes beat Tom Brady? That's the matchup to watch. I don't even want to make a prediction for this one because I think this game will be very close. This game will probably be maybe 7 to 10 point game between the two. I can't pick a winner. It's almost impossible. But something I do want to address though. Miami Dolphins. What are you thinking? Your quarterback last week gets knocked out, goes in the locker room at halftime. They give him a test and says, "Oh, he doesn't have a concussion." Tua says he wants to come back out and get in the game. They let him come out and get back in the game. Plays the rest of the game. But then the following week, as opposed to let him rest for a Thursday night game, not only did he have a concussion from last game, but then he goes back out and plays on a short week. And you send him out there again. And this time he gets slammed so hard, the guy comes up throwing up signs with his hands because he doesn't even know where he's at. Let's realize something about Tua. He's 6 foot. He's 215 pounds. Undersized as a quarterback. That's one. Number two, he's been injury prone since he got drafted. He was injured coming into the league from Alabama. He's been injured every season since. You got to handle this guy with care. If you're talking about winning for real, protect your quarterback. That's the most important thing. Another thing, stop with all the single back sets because quarterbacks like him, they need guys blocking. If you don't have a line, you got to put a fullback back there too to help block. If you know anything about football, got to help. Got to get him some help. If the line's not doing it, you got to throw some extra blockers back there in that backfield. Stop doing single back sets with just Mostert and Edmonds. You got to throw a big guy back there to help knock some guys out to protect your quarterback. Because everybody knows in the NFL, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. That's my rant.
Great stuff. All right, everybody that is watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you haven't already. We're also on all the audio platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Also, we have an Anchor page. You can see it in our bio, whether it's Twitter, IG, TikTok. We're now there, so please make sure you're subscribing there as well. We'll be back with more NBA division previews to come. This time we're going to hit the Western Conference. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We are Loop City, and we're out.